everyone, this is Ryan Wismar from WalkerTapeConverting.com. Today we're going to be talking about things to look for in reputable converters. When you don't do this every day, it's kind of hard to determine whether or not a converter is taking advantage of you with some back-end pricing or some back-end fees or something that you're not aware of because you're just not in this world, right? So today we're going to be talking about a few things to look for. Quite often something we see when a customer contacts us with an issue they've had with another converter is the converter didn't do enough research on the unique application for the customer. The customer, gives them the surface that this tape's going to be sticking to, maybe the application, and instead of finding the exact tape that will work best for that application, many converters just stick with products that they have in-house. Sometimes that product can be more expensive and sometimes that product might not stick perfectly for the application. So you might want to ask if there's other options or if that's just something that they have in-house. Another really common thing that we run into, which is really unfortunate in our world anyway, is the inflated die costs that converters quote people. For most applications, a die is going to range from $800 to $1,500. That's 95% of the applications, that's what the cost is going to be. If it's a single level die, meaning there's just one level that the blade is cutting to the tape, you're probably looking closer to $800. $800 to $1,000 depending on how many impressions there are on that die, meaning how many pieces that die is going to be cutting out. If there's two levels, which means if it's cutting through the entire thing and then just scoring the top of the liner, for example, those dies are a little bit more expensive, but again, it shouldn't run much more than $1,500. There's different qualities of dies, right? So if a lower quality die is going to be $1,500, a more expensive die might run closer to $2,000, but a $2,000 die is not necessary for a lot of things. What determines the quality is how many revolutions that die will have before the blades get dull or before the die needs to be replaced. A $1,500 die is going to be 500,000 to 1,000,000 revolutions, right? So it's plenty for most applications. So if another converter quotes you any more than $1,500 to $2,000 on a two-level die, definitely have the conversation with them. Ask why it's costing so much, because truly it shouldn't cost any more than that. So one thing that happens a lot also, and this actually just happened a couple of weeks ago with a customer that contacted us, is converters sometimes will ask details about the application, and if they feel like it might just be a one-time order, they might not ever hear from you again. These are the times that they will add die costs or hidden fees to make the product cost look good, but at the end of the day, you're paying a lot for the per piece when you add everything together. Another thing to look for is setup fees. If you're getting hit with a $500 or $1,000 setup or cleanup fee, that shouldn't. There's no reason for that. $200 in a super unique, super custom application, I could see that. We've never charged more than $100 for a setup cleanup fee, and to be honest, most of the times working with customers, we will waive those fees. When you get down to it with the converter, if you feel confident in their abilities, if you feel confident in the pricing that they're giving you, please ask for a contract, and in that contract, ask for conditions, refunds, guarantees on quality for converting are some of the things that you really want to make sure are in that agreement or in that contract with the converter. Before the converter ships you the finished product, another thing that you're going to want to do is ask for a finished product sample for you to approve. Have them send it to you so you have it in your hand so you can play with it, touch it, feel it, make sure that the die is cutting right, make sure that it's easy to work with. There are a lot of technical things on the back end that the converter needs to figure, like liner compatibility with the tape. You want to make sure the tape comes off easy enough, but not too easy. You want to make sure that the pieces come off of the sheet, for example. If there's several pieces on one sheet, you want to make sure that they come off easy. So your end user or your production manufacturing facility, doesn't waste time or waste product trying to remove off of the sheet. One of the ways sometimes a converter will get you on a refund is they're going to ask for the product back before they will give you the refund or the credit towards another order. Obviously, sometimes this isn't possible, right? When we make a sheet for you and you send it to a manufacturer to be put onto the finished product, It's been put on the finished product, so you can't take it off of the finished product to send it back to the converter to get your money back. So you want to make sure in those contracts, in those guarantees, you have very clear expectations that they agree to on quality. Make sure that it doesn't specify that you have to return the product to get the refund. Another thing we feel like you should ask for is payment terms. You shouldn't have to pay all up front before you see the finished product, before you see the quality and make sure everything meets your needs to your satisfaction. Half payment down to get things started, to get materials ordered, that's fair, but you don't need to pay the full amount up front. Also in the contract, make sure that they have lead time commitments in there. Several times customers contact us to switch suppliers because they have unreliable lead times from their current converters and manufacturers. So make sure in your contract and in your agreement it's very clear the expectation of lead time. If it's a larger application or larger volume application, make sure that the converter has the capability to store enough product for you to meet your lead time expectations on reorders. Lastly, but most certainly not least, before you do anything with your converter, make sure you check the Better Business Bureau. Make sure you check their background, make sure people have been happy working with this converter before you do anything or give them any money. I want to end with a fairly important topic, and that is we're not saying this to you to deter you from other converters and only buy from us. We're truly doing this video for your benefit and to prevent, hopefully, a bad experience and a bad costly financial experience moving forward for you. If you go to our website, walkertapeconverting.com, you'll see a list of converters throughout the country that we trust. So it's not just us, there are several other converters out there that you can trust. And obviously there's probably more than what we have listed, but the ones that we have listed are verified that we feel like we could refer you to. But of course we would like you to give us a shot, right? So contact us at walkertapeconverting.com and we'll see how we can help you out.